Hi guys, welcome back. Does anybody else feel like December has just blown by? I think I'm ready for time to slow down just a little bit. So it's 52 degrees outside. Overcast. Not too bad. You don't need a parka by any means, but you do want a jacket. It's kind of warm. It's kind of cool. Here we are, the middle of December, and I haven't done a December garden tour. And part of me thought, well, let's just not. But you know, I like looking back at these and seeing where I was at this time. So, while there's not a whole lot to look at, we're going to do a real quick garden tour. Join me, won't you? So my flower beds here, I need to get in and apparently pull some weeds that are very bright green, but I also need to mulch them. Imagine that, me having to pull weeds. Of course I do. All of my mums have gone into hibernation mode. However, I do plan on leaving kind of that foliage there to help them through the winter, and next spring, before they start to sprout in the spring, we're going to come through and cut them all off. We've got more weeds in here that I don't even know where they came from. We'll get them out eventually. This is my rose bush, and you know, the rose bushes, they say that you're supposed to cover them up or dig them up, or I don't know. I haven't done anything and they keep coming back, so I'm just not going to change what I'm doing. Another mum, I need to get in and add a little bit more mulch. The last time I mulched this bed, I believe, was 2020, and so as you can see, the mulch is starting to go back, and there's the landscaping fabric. That was the stupidest mistake I think I've ever done, is putting landscaping fabric down. But at that time, it needed to be done. So, live and learn, but it kind of needed to be done anyway. So I've been slowly pulling it back. The Arctic Fire dogwoods here have dropped most all their leaves. This looks terrible. There's a hilarious story about this. Our poor Amazon driver, he was delivering packages, and we had enough packages that he actually had to make a couple of trips, and he parked his van kind of pretty close to my sidewalk here. He was in my yard, so about right there maybe, and he was getting ready to get in his truck, and the day that he was delivering, it was windy as all get out, and I'm surprised that that was still on the roof, but as you can see, it isn't anymore. And we were actually sitting in the house and heard it go thunk, 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 thunk down the roof, and my husband and I look at each other like, what in the world? And about that time we see it go flying off the roof, and the poor Amazon driver was at the front end of his truck getting ready to get in his truck. And so we run out the door to check on him, and he's like, I promise I didn't do it. And we're like, no, we know what happened. So the poor guy might have needed to check his drawers when he got home. This was right before Amazon put into place where you could say, tip my driver to Alexa, and she would give him a tip. Gosh, I wish I knew how to give that poor guy a tip after delivering here. Anyway, that is actually ice and rain barrier for the roof, and we plan on re-roofing the front side of our house come spring, but we just kind of left everything up there until now. We've got some weeds. I have gotten in here and mulched a little bit. I need to clean out all of the flower pots here on the court. Again, these are going to stay here until closer to early spring when I come back and cut this thing off. All of my flower pots need to be emptied, except of course this. This is a mum, and it may or may not make it. I don't know, we'll have to just wait and see. I did get mulched over here, and in the spring I'm going to come in with the real pretty, either black. My husband and I really like how the black looks, so we may come in with black, or else we'll come in with the red again. But I wanted to go ahead and get this down. I got this from a friend of mine who runs a tree service here in town, and we swapped out some stuff I had some stuff they wanted, they had mulch that I wanted. So that worked out in our favor. When we were hanging Christmas lights, we actually found out that this rose bush going into the shutter. So I don't know how we're going to get that out. I guess we're just going to have to take the shutter down, but that shutter's coming down anyway. I have come in, and as you can see, I've cut back on the rose bush. It needs to be cut back a whole lot more. But it was very cold out the day we did it. We did it the day that we came back from my aunt's house celebrating Thanksgiving. And we hung up all of our Christmas lights. So this is my new mum bed, but it also has a whole bunch of bulbs, spring and summer, early summer bulbs that we planted into it. I got this side mulched. I'm not sure if it made the November garden tour video or not, but I did get it placed up. It's really weird because it almost looks like I have flowers coming up right here. I don't know if those are flowers or what, but if they are, they're confused on the time of year it is. It doesn't really look like grass. It looks like flowers trying to come up. So we'll have to wait and see. It might just be grass, especially if you look over here on this side. This looks more like grass. So I don't know. We'll just have to keep an eye on it and see what happens. This bed here, I got it mulched this morning actually. So that's why the mulch looks a little wetter, I guess. It looks different than the other mulch. That stuff's had time to dry out, and this stuff has been in a huge pile. But we do have a nice layer of mulch down around this bed of mums, as well as all of the bulbs, the spring and summer, early summer bulbs that are planted in here. The vegetable garden looks pretty sad right now. There's a bunch of leaves. Luckily there's not just a huge layer of leaves. You know, leaves make a great mulch. However, you want to shred your leaves up versus like over here underneath this tree, there's all these leaves like this. If you put a huge layer of leaves like this on your garden beds, they're not actually going to be able to be planted next spring, because instead of feeding your ground and helping mulch it, it's actually going to waterlog it. And when you pull that off, you're going to have mold and water, and it's not going to be pretty. We also have this pile here that I need to do something with. This is all of the tomato bushes and everything, plants that I pulled out of the ground to get them out of the bed, and I just kind of threw them right here because I don't really want to put them on my compost pile. So they're here until I either have a chance to burn them, you know, when it's not blowing 90 to nothing and dry, which we've either had 90 to nothing winds and extremely dry conditions, or it has been raining. So today there's a nice breeze, and with enough leaves in my yard, I don't want to try and burn this. So this is my wheelbarrow flower bed that I did this summer, and I need to get in here and mulch all of these mums as well to try and help give them a little added protection. Tomorrow I think is supposed to be warmer, but it's supposed to rain all day, so I don't think I'll get it done tomorrow, but we'll see. I got most of the plants pulled out of the wheelbarrow. Some of them are a perennial. I think most of the stuff that I had planted in there was actually an annual. I've got some perennials planted in the ground at the base of the wheelbarrow, so that'll be exciting and fun to see what comes. I got this one and that one all cleared out, as well as these. There's that pineapple that, you know, I planted it like the internet says, hey, you can plant it, and nothing. We did get in here and get the garlic planted, and as you can see, the garlic is starting to grow up, and people wonder if that's okay. Well, here's the thing I can tell you about garlic. Oh, we have one that came unburied right there accidentally. That's not good. I kind of need to shove him back down in the ground. Anyway, so the thing about garlic is that you can plant it in the fall, especially in this area. You want to plant it in the fall, and leaves make a great mulch. You want to mulch it. I have not gotten it mulched yet, obviously. I'll probably come in and get all these leaves that are fallen in here out, and then either put shredded up leaves or put some mulch on it. But in our area especially, I am a 6B, we have warm days, and when we have warm days, especially in the fall, the garlic thinks, oh hey, I need to grow, so it will grow. And then it turns off cold, and we're cold for months on end. We'll have a few warm days here and there, but we're cold for months on end. And you're thinking, oh no, did I ruin my garlic? No, don't worry, garlic is the easiest thing to grow. And come spring is when you kind of have to worry about it actually starting to grow when it shouldn't, because you know you're going to go through those cold snaps in the spring where it's hot and then it's cold and then it's hot and then it's cold and then it's, you get the picture. So that is when the garlic will start putting on all of its growth, and you'll think, oh, okay, cool, my garlic is growing. And then you'll have a cold snap and the garlic will stop. The garlic gets confused, and usually it will snap back and it will continue to grow. But on the off chance that it doesn't realize that, oh hey, that was just a cold snap and I need to continue producing, that's when you have to worry about your garlic. But in the fall, when it starts doing this and then it goes into the spring, no big deal. Or into winter. No. This was my tomato bed, and I actually left. As you can see, we had tomatoes that fell off the plants. I even have some in the walkway. It's okay to leave that because it's just going to kind of put some nutrients back in the ground. For the most part, they will go ahead and break down. No big deal. And they actually say that you can, instead of pulling the roots up, when you pull the plant up like I did, you can actually just cut them off at the base and leave the roots in there, and the roots will actually help aerate and fertilize the soil, especially if you have clay soil. We don't have clay soil here, but if you had clay soil, it helps with the soil development and getting a lot of the aeration going. These beds have been cleaned. That's the strawberry bed. It still needs to be weeded. I mean, come on, man. This bed was cleaned out a long time ago. Yes, it has weeds, but I'm not too worried about the weeds right now because they are acting as a little bit of a soil protectant to try and help keep nutrients in and that kind of thing. So I'm not too worried about the weeds at this point in time. Come spring, I will have a lot, especially with all these acorns. You remember I had all these acorns in the spring, and they started trying to grow trees in my garden beds, which was so annoying. That's more what I'm worried about and have to deal with. And again, these were those onions that I just kind of didn't do anything with. This bed still has some plants in it. They're eggplants. I'll come in and pull them or cut them at the root, whichever I decide to do. But I'm not too worried about it. We've got pretty much, this is just weeds here and leaves. And I actually have a kind of almost a thick layer of the leaves here, like what I talked about. And they're not cut up. They are whole. So what I need to do is I need to get in here and remove them so that it will allow drainage to happen, especially come early spring when we get all those heavy rains. Hopefully, cross our fingers that we get rain this year. I don't want those leaves hindering my soil health. I have a bunch of acorns once I get over here because I've got that tree right there that I deal with every year. I hate that tree, but I love that tree at the same time. It adds some shade, and some of my plants, like there are plants that do really well where they get, predominant sun, and then in the afternoon they get mottled sun or even a little bit of shade. It's amazing what the tree will do. But it's also amazing how many trees, little baby seedlings, that you have to pull out of the freaking ground all year long. I mean, I was pulling them out all summer long. They are weeds. This bed was potatoes as well as that bed, these two right here. And if you remember, I left potatoes in the ground. There's some stems that you can see there, and all those stems, those potatoes decided to just start sprouting this fall. I still haven't dug them up because I'm kind of curious as to what's going to happen. And I think this green that we see here is actually an onion, because I had onions planted in part of this bed, and there's actually some onion growth here too. So again, some of this is just going to be very interesting to see. That bed was empty. Those flowers all died off. I need to get that pulled. This bed, whoo, it still has the tomato plants in it, but they've died back. It still has some basil plants in it, but they again have died back. Look at all the acorns. Look at all the leaves. This bed is kind of a problem child, but it's also not. This has nothing. This has onions. This has onions. That's empty. That has been cleaned. That was marigolds. This was all those lysianthus that are pain in the tuchus. That was habaneros. Yeah, I believe those are habaneros. We're back to the strawberries. Oh my gosh, and then this poor bed. This was that bed that just did not stand a chance at all this last summer. It had the 48 tomato plants. As you can see, all the tomato plants are still there. There's weeds, there's leaves, there's everything under the sun, and then there's this. And we're going to focus a lot more energy and effort this next year, on getting this bed ready to be planted out as well. So, wish us luck. And there's all my containers that are going to be used for compost tea. Here is my original compost tea bin that we made this year. Really, everything that's missing out of the top here is from evaporation. I didn't really get to use it because I wasn't sure how to get the stuff out. But next year, man, this is gonna be amazing. As long as it doesn't freeze and break my container. I'm not sure what's gonna happen. All right, y'all, I'm in my garden shed and something caught my attention. It is cold outside, so I decided to step in here. Ooh, look at my crazy hair. It's a little wind blown. In here, I have my pepper plants. They actually, I think they need to be watered, so I should do that while I'm in here. Oh, look, I have water. Let's water them real quick. You don't want to water when you're overwintering so much that you just totally saturate them. You just want enough water that they know they've been watered. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. That was hard. I actually don't know if any of my tomatoes, they're not tomatoes, any of these pepper plants will make it or not. I need to get in here and clean my shed, by the way. Anyway, you can overwinter peppers because they are a perennial. You have to do a little bit to them. Cut them back. My daughter and I made a video of this, but I never got it posted, or I haven't yet, but I will. You cut them back, clean their roots massively, plant them in clean, fresh potting soil, and put them in a warm place. It's supposed to stay above 50. My garden shed door right there, somehow it got opened, and nobody knows how, and it stayed open for, a night or two when we dropped down into the 20s at night. So they may not make it, but we're trying. I don't know what the temperature is in here because the battery died on my temperature gauge, so I need to replace that. But we are trying to overwinter peppers. So we'll see next spring. I have I have 19, I think, that we pulled. We pulled 2 of each kind except for one, and I only had one of that particular variety. Half of them are here in the garden shed, and half of them are in my parents' basement under a grow light. They have to have at least 4 to 6 hours of light a day. I've got natural light through the windows here, as well as I do have my lamps on that are on most of the day. I think the pepper plants in my parents' basement are doing a little better, although I think we've lost a few of them because we forgot to water them one day. That and my grow light somehow got turned off, and they went 3 weeks without any light. You're supposed to give them about 5 to 10 days to kind of let them, because you have cut them back so far and you changed their environment and all that. So you're supposed to give them a little bit of leeway, but 3 weeks think, without grow lights. I think we lost a few, but they're actually putting on leaves, which you can grow indoors. We don't want to. We are trying to give my plants just enough energy to make it through the winter, and then plant them back out in the garden in the spring. Basically what we're going to do is we are going to harden them off just like they were a fresh baby plant, and then plant them out. So we'll see what happens. But I planted all mine in here. Tori planted all of hers in my parents' basement, and we have a bet going to see whose plants will make it. Hopefully some of both will, honestly. Anyway, that is the garden tour. Yes, we're in the shed, and there's garlic behind me. I need to get something done with it. All the stuff I planted was planted off of stuff I grew this year, so that's exciting. That's the second year I've done that, although last year I added some bought stuff. The only problem with it is I don't know what all varieties I have, so whatever. That is the garden tour for December. I will be excited to see what January looks like. I mean, today is the 12th, so we're only, my mathing is hard. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 days away from the new year, I think. I might have done that wrong. My mathing isn't working right. It's cold outside. Story we're going with right now. Okay, anyway, thanks for joining me. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe on the link down below, and we'll see you next time. Bye! And y'all, this is what the shed looks like after a summer of gardening. It looks terrible. I need to get in here and fix it before spring starts. And oh, hey, the bug guy's here. Gotta go.